Welcome back to Care for the Common Game. Today we're going to be talking about Mavren Fein in deck number 350. Wow, 350. I just had to build me a completely extra shelf because those were about full. I figure this shelf, it'll hold probably a couple hundred more decks, so it'll get us by for a little while. Anyway, we're going to talk about mono white vampires. Obviously, this is what this card leads us to. I mean, it's kind of a hard build. I had to cheat a little bit in order to do it. But it just generates tokens when you attack. So that's, I mean, they're vampires with lifelink. This is really good just when they attack. So they don't have to deal combat damage. So I'll show you what I'm talking about by cheating, because mono white vampires, we don't have that many. I mean, we don't have that many at all. I think there's only 3 sets out there, the 2 Ixalan sets and the 1 Commander set, that even addressed mono white vampires. So I'll show you the 3 cheat cards first. We'll go ahead and get those out of the way. The 3 changelings, the Aven, the Sentinel, and the Hero. Now, the good one, the rare one, the one that goes in just about every white creature deck. I can't think of his name. He's awesome. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Probably should be in here. If I had another one, I probably would put it in. My ramp is, of course, the Pearl Medallion and the Marble Diamond. But let's get into the actual white vampires, of which there's not a whole lot. I can't remember. I have to look over on Tapped Out to see how many there are, but there's not a bunch. I'm counting this as an actual vampire card. I mean, granted, it doesn't have a creature type vampire, but it does put 2 tokens into play. Glorifier of the Dusk. Apparently wants you to pay 2 life to do anything. Bishop of Rebirth. Now that, the first time I read this, and y'all probably did too, you thought kind of you got a Sun Titan-ish kind of vibe. But this is just a creature. You can only get a creature back. So, while it's good for some specific creatures, I'm thinking Burnished Heart, because y'all know I love that. And it doesn't happen when it comes into play. But anyway. Bishop of Rebirth. Bishop of Binding. Bishop Soldier. I mean, just apparently their bishops are different on Ixalan. Sanguine Glorifier. Paladin of the Bloodstain also creates a token. Now, all the rest of these can be got back by our bishop, because we've got, like, we'll start with the 1-drops. You know, this card is just insane. I'm surprised that this card hasn't, like, legit done something. Wow. Vanguard, Skyblade Legion, Martyrdom. I'm going through the creatures kind of quick because there's not a lot of them. And in order to make this work, we need to focus on the non-creature stuff, you know. Well, that's it. That's it for the creatures. So now we've got to find a way to make our tribe awesome. We'll put in Mirror of the Forebears and Legion's Landing. Legion's Landing, of course, an obvious include, because, I mean, it just creates tokens. Adaptive Automaton is a vampire by proxy. And Brass Herald, yeah, it's hurting when you're running the 6 mana 2/2. But it's a champion. It's kind of card draw, but we don't have a whole lot of creatures, so it's not really. The possibility to whiff on this is really, really bad. This 6 slot would be better taken by Mirror Entity. That's it. Mirror Entity. Wait a minute. I just bought a collection the other day, and I think I may have had a Mirror Entity in it. I don't know. Let's look at Anthems. Now, obviously, we're playing with Glorious Anthem. I foresee us creating a bunch of tokens, so the intangible virtue I kind of wanted to include. Marshall's Anthem to bring back your real dead vampires and to make more tokens. Um, Dictate of Heliod, just because. Hall of Triumph. Now, Kindred Boon is going to make them live through a lot of board wipes. Sure enough, will. Cathar's Crusade is just dumb because when in this particular deck, I mean, I don't have to sell you on how good Cathar's Crusade is. We all know it. But this is going to happen in the middle of combat because you declare your attackers. As soon as you declare your attackers, you get that many 1/1 tokens, and they're all going to trigger Cathar's Crusade. Whoa. Of course, Inspired Charge is a good little gotcha card for when you got to win that turn. Pretty much, I like Rallying Roar because the last line, those last two words there, if it didn't have them, I probably would never play it. But this is the fake out where you alpha strike and they think they can get you because you're all tapped out. And you're like, no, I'm going to untap them and make them bigger. Of course, Retinous Sanction is, I kind of love the Friender Foes, but for 4 mana, you get a +1 counter on your team. If you look at it just like that, and then everybody, assuming you chose everybody else, but they're only going to have 1 blocker. So that's really neat. Now, the problem with... Hold on. I got to read our commander again. The problem with... of course, your commander does this too. I mean, he's a 3-mana 2/2, but you're putting your little tiny guys... they're probably medium-sized guys because I figured we've got a couple of the enchantments out, whatever, in harm's way by just swinging with them. And this don't work for your tokens, so when your tokens attack next turn, it doesn't really, help you besides, swinging with dudes. But Reconnaissance, man, I'm getting more and more respect for this card. There is, I am told, now the point of Reconnaissance is to save your creature from dying in combat. And it's 0s, so you can pull back all your dudes or what have you from unfavorable blocks. But I am told that there is a point in combat, I don't know, this seems kind of shady to me. There's a point in combat, I may have talked to y'all before, where the damage has been dealt, but they are still an attacking creature, and you can pull them back then. I don't know. That doesn't seem right. It may be legal, but it may not. It's one of those embarrassing rules that's, Anyway, Brave the Elements is just, it does whatever you need. It's, if you're playing against a monocolor deck, or they only have monocolor creatures out there, or all of them share a color, you just make your team unblockable. Or you protect your team from the pyroclasm that's coming out, Blinding Light is just perfect for any mono white deck, of course. And Guilty Conscience has gotten such rotten responses. Anyway, it deals damage. So you put it obviously on their biggest dude that they're going to want to swing with, It's going to kill itself. My apologies. And this just... Now, granted, it is a 5-mana enchantment that doesn't really do anything by itself. But, neither is the Dictator, neither is Anthem or whatever. But it does creature attacks, anybody's creature, so you're going to gain a life, you know. And I guess in theory you spend 5 mana and then you attack and you're going to get some life that turn, but it is kind of a weak slot. I just wanted to play with it mainly because I just haven't played with this card, and I hate the way Akroma's hair looks when she's coming down like that. Anyway, Safe Passage is a personal Fog. I like it a little better than Fog because it's not just combat damage, it's all damage. So if somebody cast, what is that, Blasphemous Act? What's up, Don? Scapegoat. You can sacrifice one of your creatures. Of course, you're going to have plenty of tokens to sacrifice to save any of your other creatures from that wrath. So this is a 1 mana. You're going to bounce all your dudes from the wrath. Like I said, we've got to protect our dudes because we don't have a whole lot of them. Abeyance has been an amazing card for years. Now they can still play creatures and planeswalkers and attack with creatures and stuff like that. But it does replace itself, and it says they can't play counter magic. So, Pride of Conquerors. I mean, this is good clean living right here for vampires. Vampire Zeal, of course, you got to have the Vampire Giant growth. Collective Effort. Now, tapping an untapped creature you control is probably not an issue with this many tokens. But those options are outstanding. Removal, and Team Pump. Of course, Unquestioned Authority is going to... Now, your commander's got to live. He's got to stay out there because, you know, without him, you don't get that cool attack, get one thing. So, this is more or less... Unquestioned Authority is kind of a redundant copy of the Reconnaissance. It just makes your general to where he doesn't die. Only this works for just him. The Reconnaissance will work for your entire team if you need it to. Armored Ascension, I mean, what are we playing, 31 planes? Ugh. It's so good. I'm almost glad when I'll eventually run out of these because it's so good you just kind of want to play it in every mono white deck. As a matter of fact, I have a mono green deck coming up that does not have a Blanchwood armor because I'm just out, and, you know, I'm kind of fine with that because I crutch a little too hard on it. And the whole point's to try to do different things here. So let's look at some removal. Now, I'll admit I'm going to try out this Isolate card. I'm going to try it out, see what works with it. Exile, target permanent, was converted mana cost 1. The lady in our play group is notorious for Sarah Ascendant. I don't know that I would use this on a Soul Ring, but there are... Now, turn 1, Bolt the Bird? Probably. Terminate's going to put everything, all dudes, on the bottom. It's a panic button if you got to have it, kind of like End Hostilities. I mean, if you got to have it. I chose End Hostilities for this because permanents attached to it. Enchantments are kind of running rampant right now. Mass Calcify has to be in there because we're playing white. Let's see here. Demystify, Disenchant, these are pretty standard. Seal Away, Return to Dust, Celestial Purge because I'm out of like Paths and Swords. Condemn. Humble. I like Humble. This might as well be removal. I'm telling you. I consider this removal because you're going to do it while blocking, and they attack you, you humble it, you block it, you kill it. Ixalan's Binding, Afterlife. Now, let's talk about cleansing meditation. We have, a bunch of enchantments in here, but we get threshold. It doesn't matter because we get ours back. Now, cleansing meditation, I kind of wonder because it destroys all of them and then returns yours to play. I wonder why I haven't used this in any like enchantment decks. Are there enchantments that say enchantments come into play, or do you have to cast them? I can't remember now. I think the Viduran says when you cast them, so this wouldn't work there. But I know like Angelic Chorus and Opalescence. What am I thinking? Angelic Chorus. Opalescence makes creatures. And then I would need Angelic Chorus to gain the life as they come in. And then I would need Sigil of the Empty Throne. I guess I don't need the chorus. Yeah, Sigil's what I need. Anyway, brainstorming. Anyway, Coordinated Barrage. In theory, by the time that we're done, we're going to have a bunch of tokens, and we can just use this as a path. Now, what do we got here? We have non-basic lands, which there's not a lot of. I have Karu, because, there's no reason to not to. We have a Rogue's Passage. Y'all had to see that one coming. We're just now getting fuzzy. Secluded Steppe is the only cycling land I have because I couldn't put my fingers on the others. Ruins of Trokar. I like Ruins of Trokar. I mean, these are... How many times have you been, if I just had one more mana, I could do this thing. It happens quite a lot, more than we think it does. And the Fallen Empire sack lands kind of... Now, granted, you're sacrificing mana that first turn because it comes into play tapped. Back then, that was just horrible and we hated it. But nowadays, we're a little more accustomed to lands coming into play tapped. So, I mean, especially in this deck where there's not a whole lot. Mystifying Maze just is going to help. Now, I dogged this card for years. I know a buddy of mine's going to, if he watches, he's going to be like, yes, I dogged this card for years. But quite frankly, we don't really have enough mazes of Ith to go around, especially not for my decks. But, and really, that's it for the deck. I don't have any more non-basics than that. I thought about some of the man lands, but I thought there again it kind of violated the theme of the deck with it being mono white vampires. And that's a really, really narrow theme. It's kind of hard to do. And I feel like that's why not a lot of decks have been made of Mavren, because you kind of want to do mono white vampires. He's more of a throw in to, Markov or whatever. But that's what I've got. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tell me what you think. But right now, we're going to shuffle and cut.